A story when you're a midwife. And a lot of my stories are really hilarious because birth is sacred, but it's also disgusting. And it's honest and it's real. And there's always a dog running away with the placenta, or they love placentas. Or there's some little kid who dives headfirst into the birth pool as his mother's pushing because he's been practicing this pig face that he wants to show his little sister. And headfirst as the baby's crowning, and then gets all defensive about, well, she's my sister. I have to teach her things. There's a story I pull out a lot about delivering a baby in the back of a Geometra that was parked sort of half up on the curb in front of the birth center, while the laboring woman, who's having a really fast second labor, while her brother-in-law shouted about keeping the seats clean. It was his new car, which, did not happen. So I was going to tell some funny birth stories and leave it at that. But a few weeks ago, things changed a lot for me. I've been in an abusive marriage. And the thing that's been holding me in this marriage has been my dog, this little pit bull, who in so many ways has just been like a midwife for me. And I really shouldn't say midwife. I should say anyone who's sat with a woman when she's at her darkest and looked at her. And whether it's once for your sister, or you're lucky enough to do this every day of your life, someone who sat with a woman at her darkest when she doesn't think she can go on, when she doesn't think she can do it anymore, and looked at her, or done whatever it is you do to make her feel that as alone as you feel right now, as much as you are the only one who can do this and get through this, as much as it's all on you, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're loved. And so that's what my dog did for me. And 2 weeks ago, exactly today, I went to get her, and my husband had taken her, and he disappeared. And for those of you who know abusive relationships, it was all about control. It was all about taking the thing that I loved most. And the thing that's gotten me through this more than anything is that I was privileged enough to have been a midwife and to have seen women coming through just when you believe, when it seems impossible, when you believe that you just can't, that there's no way to go on, there's no way to stretch anymore or contain anymore. And women do it. I've been thinking in particular about a client I had in El Paso, one of my last births before I graduated from midwifery school, who her first baby had been born by cesarean. And there's nothing wrong with cesarean birth per se. It's something as a practicing midwife I'm really grateful for quite a bit. But this cesarean, so this woman was an undocumented immigrant, and federal law is that when a woman comes into the hospital in labor, she needs to be taken care of. But that didn't mean this hospital in El Paso wanted to take good care of anyone. They wanted to get the baby out, get the woman out, send her home. That was that. And so this woman went into the hospital at 37 weeks, was strapped down to a table. No one spoke her language. No one told her what was happening. And her baby she felt like it was a violation when her baby was born. And so she really wanted a VBAC, a vaginal birth after cesarean, for her second birth. And she came to the birth center, and I never heard her talk in a voice above a whisper. She was really shy and kind and caring and sensitive and afraid of making waves. And so we had a rule that you could only go to 42 weeks, and at midnight on 42 weeks, you had to transfer to the hospital. So this woman came in, she labored for 3 days, and it was like nothing. If I hadn't have really been invested in her VBAC, I would have just sent her home. But she tried, and she tried, and she tried. And finally at 9 p.m. that night of 42 weeks, when she'd have to transfer to the hospital at midnight, I went to take a nap. I was exhausted. And I asked a student midwife to monitor her, and her 6 sisters-in-law showed up and sat with her. And the student came to wake me up at 10:15 to say, let's start filling out the hospital transport paperwork. And I looked at her, and I looked at this crowd of 6 women squished into this small birth room, holding her. and telling her she could do it and believing in her. And then I heard a noise that meant the baby was coming, and she was starting to push. And I had checked her right before I went to sleep, and she was like 3 centimeters, which is nothing in a second-time mother. I mean, no offense. It's like exciting when you get there, but it's also sort of nothing. And she was making this noise. And I checked her again, and there was the baby. And the baby came out at 12:54 p.m. 12:54 p.m. a.m. Sorry, 11:54. 11:54 p.m. I'm really bad at math. But 6 minutes before the time that I would have transferred her. And she would have experienced that same violation. And it was because, I fully believe, it was because of her 6 sisters-in-law showing up and believing in her and holding her through it and telling her that, as dark as it is, this is something women can do. This is something women can do. Whatever it is, this is something women can do. And just when it seems like too much to carry, like too much to stretch, that's when the baby comes out. And that's what I've been keeping in my mind these last few weeks, that there's a lot women can do.